Okay, everybody, the new Heatran set that I've actually seen several times on the high ladder this week is a Magma Storm Earth Power Nature Power Taunt Heatran. It runs leftovers. It seems to be a very fast, aggressive variant, so I put 242 speed, and I'll explain to you guys later in the video why that specific number. And I made it modest max special attack for a really heavy hitting Mon. And the reason that Nature Power is actually showing up as green, you might be like, whoa, Ninjack, Nature Power is a normal type move. Why you got that in green? That is because it is always run with Rillaboom or Tapu Bulu. Now, I actually think this set is really good, so stick around because I'm going to explain to you guys why I think this new set is good and why I think that it's on the rise. What is going on, guys? Jack here, stage name Ninjack, and in this week's episode of the Monday Meta Review, we are going to talk about all the Mons you see around here, okay? Lots of really good stuff, but let's get back to that Heatran set I was talking about. So, Nature Power with Rillaboom and Tapu Bulu. This set is really interesting. So obviously Nature Power, for those of you who might not know, I shouldn't say obviously, Nature Power changes based on what terrain is set. So if it's no terrain, it's Tri-Attack, which is in and of itself pretty good because of a 20% chance for a status. But with these Mons, it turns into Energy Ball, which actually is really useful. Now, I told you guys I was going to explain to you guys that speed stat. That speed stat is so that it outspeeds the vast majority of Landorus's out there. So a lot of the kind of bulky Landos have 241 speed. So this set outspeeds that, and that is why I chose that specific number. So now y'all know 242 is one faster than most Landorus's on the ladder. Now obviously Scarf, stuff like that's going to be faster. Now in order to explain, guys, why this new set is good, we need to first talk about what the old set is so that we can understand what we're comparing to. So traditionally, we are all used to the Magma Storm, Earth Power, Toxic, Taunt variants. Or maybe it's got Stealth Rock mixed in there, or Protect. But you guys kind of get the idea. There's a couple of moves that you can play around with in those last two slots. But Magma Storm, Earth Power, always the same, basically. And then you've normally got some variation. Almost all of them have Toxic. They'll have Stealth Rock sometimes. Sometimes they might have Protect or Taunt. So this is the standard set that we're all used to, and it's a special defensive set with a little bit of speed, but not quite as much. And it's just meant to come in. It's really good against things like Tapu Lele, trying to soak up some of those Psychic and Fairy-type attacks. But we're going to use the first set I mentioned, the Toxic Taunt set, just for the sake of comparison, to explain why the new set is actually really good. But first, guys, we need to talk about Stealth Rocks. What happens when Heatran himself switches in. So Stealth Rocks are all over the ladder, obviously, and these are actually frequently used to wear down Heatrans. I've actually used this myself with a Pivot Lele team that relied on a modest Choice Specs Lele. I would set up Stealth Rocks and then hit these Heatrans coming in with a powerful Psychic, and due to the Stealth Rocks, they could really only come in on a Psychic one time, so it was really, really powerful. Here's the thing. Almost all Heatran have leftovers, but this new set has the grassy terrain recovery with it. So what's happening with this new set is it takes one turn to get your HP back, because the grassy terrain plus the leftovers is going to recover what you get, what you take from Stealth Rocks in one turn. So if Heatran swaps in, takes 12%, eats another 15% from a Moonblast from a Tapu Lele, after one turn it's already gotten that Stealth Rocks recovery. Probably the Lele is switching, which means after turn 2, it is now almost back to full HP, whereas the original Heatran has still suffered somewhere between 15 and 20% damage before it's forced out. So this new set actually gives a lot of survivability to this Heatran, despite having less HP. Now, let's talk about some switch-ins and why I think this thing is really good. Swampert is a perfect example, you guys. Swampert is obviously a water ground type, and so 4x weak to that Nature Power Energy Ball. Also, Swampert's not really expecting Energy Ball. But what happens, guys, is you Magma Storm on the switch in, trapping it, against Swampert, I don't know, doing 10% plus another 12% with your chip, and then you Energy Ball for somewhere between 78 to 90% damage, instantly taking out Swampert. And this is a super common switch-in for Heatran because of its ability to Earthquake or Flip Turn or Stealth Rock. Basically, every move that Swampert's got is really good against Heatran. Gastrodon is kind of a similar vein. This is something that might not be the first swap in, but if it's especially defensive Gastrodon, they may go for it because it frequently runs things like Earthquake. And if you Nature Power this, same deal, 4x effective, you're going to wipe it out. Now in this video, I don't have Quagsire just because I haven't seen a massive amount of Quagsire, but that's another honorable mention. Tapu Fini is another reason that this new set with Nature Power is actually kind of good, I think. So Tapu Fini, guys, is a really bulky mon just in general. And normally, between both of them having leftovers, the Tapu Fini is going to be able to do more damage to the Heatran than it can do to Tapu Fini, because Heatran doesn't have access, typically with this set, to a super effective attack. And what's worse, it can't even Toxic Tapu Fini because of the misty terrain. So Nature Power gives it the ability to wear out Fini faster than it would be worn out itself. And that can be a huge thing for Heatran, because sometimes Tapu Fini is a team's only Heatran answer. Now we can talk about Hippowdon as well. That's something that you may want to Nature Power instead of Toxic at times. If you catch it on the switch in and you can drop it to a fairly low, I won't say fairly low, I'll say probably about half HP between Stealth Rocks plus Energy Ball. Hippowdon is a bulky mon, but it can be useful sometimes if you've already chipped that Hippowdon down to be able to knock it out when it comes in on your Heatran. Now the Slow Twins are another classic example of where Nature Power is going to be useful. You could probably do more damage than they're going to be able to get rid of with Regenerator. And if you trap them first with Magma Storm, you can do a lot of damage to them and cause them to start to wear out. Urshifu Rapid Strike is a super common mon that this set is really good against because it gives you the ability to hit it super effectively. So if it swaps in on an Energy Ball and you got Stealth Rocks up or Spikes or whatever, you just blew that thing back. That thing, I haven't done the calc, but it probably lives with very little HP. I'm going to guess it's somewhat of a roll. So you can instantly murk an Urshifu Rapid Strike, which is really, really valuable for a lot of teams. And then, of course, Garchomp. This is another mon that is very frequently used to switch in, and you could drop that Nature Power after a Magma Storm and do a lot of damage. And so if you have already worn that Garchomp out some, Nature Power could be what you need to just finish it out. Oh, I almost forgot, you guys. Can we talk about the fact that Earthquake damage is now halved? So, if you didn't know, grassy terrain actually halves the damage from the move Earthquake, which means Garchomp, almost forgot his name, Swampert, and Gastrodon, and Hippowdon, all doing half damage with that Earthquake. So you might think, oh no, but if I only do half with an Energy Ball, it's just going to one-shot me with Earthquake. Not anymore. Not thanks to that not thanks to that grassy terrain giving you that resistance. So, depending on the set of that Garchomp, if it's a bulky, not offensive set and you are actually faster, you might be able to Magma Storm and then take it out with 2 Energy Balls. So, I think this set is really good for those reasons, guys. And I think that we're probably going to start to see a little more of this. So just be aware that Nature Power Heatran is a thing, and your Swampert might not be as safe as you think it is. By the way, guys, quick interlude. Are you guys enjoying this new style? I put a lot of effort into thinking, how can I make this content more engaging and interesting? And how can I visualize it better rather than just talking while some random game plays in the background? But I need to know from you guys, are you enjoying this? Really, guys, leave a comment and tell me, yes, I liked it, or no, I didn't. I would really appreciate that feedback. And if you have any other ideas for stuff that you would like to see or a format that I could do this in, please let me know. I would really appreciate it. Now also feels like a good time to say, if you are liking this and you are enjoying this format, please hit the like button, guys. I would really, really appreciate it. And if you are just thankful to know, like, hey, Heatran out here running Energy Ball, hit that like button so that this content can go to more people if you are enjoying it and finding it useful. I would really appreciate it, so thank you guys so much. All right, but let's get back to the observations on the OU ladder. So you guys, I have seen a number of things And I've seen some really interesting things. These are things I would not have expected to be talking about, because several of the Mons on the rise, I would have thought I would put in the heat or trash segment, but I actually saw it enough times that I was like, kind of feels a little bit like a trend. So, right off the bat, Specs Toxtricity, not Scarf, choice Specs. And I know it was Specs because ain't no way it was doing that much damage to these Ferrothorns. I was like, what? It was doing like 40+% with Boom Burst. And I was like, okay, so that's Specs. This thing has been out there, guys. It's going to have Boom Burst, Volt Switch, Overdrive, and either Sludge Bomb or Sludge Wave. I don't know which one they're carrying. I can kind of go either way. 30% chance poison versus 5 extra power. I don't know. You guys can decide on that. But I've seen more choice Specs Toxtricity. I've also been seeing a lot more Gastrodon. I don't know if you guys have been seeing that, but I definitely have. And this thing tends to run Recover, Toxic, Earthquake, and Scald. Another interesting thing, actually really interesting, Lycanroc? What? I've seen multiple of these. I actually ran into these a couple times myself. And it's a setup mon, so it uses Swords Dance. It's got a Life Orb, and it has Close Combat, Stone Edge, and I presume Excel Rock. I never got to see it myself, but I don't know why you would not have that move, because that's a really valuable move when Volcarona is a popular Pokemon, and when you got things like Dragapult that are going to outspeed you. So you guys, this last one is really interesting. I've seen a lot more Tapu Bulu. I'm not talking like a little bit, like in a lot of games I've seen Tapu Bulu lately. It tends to be a setup mon that uses Leftovers plus Grassy Terrain Recovery, and it has Swords Dance, Horn Leech, Close Combat, and Stone Edge. So really heavy hitting mon, really aggressive. It can take out things like Corviknight with the really powerful combination of, oh wait, it's Superpower, not Close Combat, my bad. Superpower plus Stone Edge can overwhelm Corviknights, and Horn Leech plus all the recovery can make it really difficult to beat this mon down because it gets so much recovery. So that's something I've been seeing that's been really, really interesting. On the decline side of things, this is a little harder to notice, guys, because this is something that you're not really going to notice on a week-to-week basis, or at least I don't notice on a week-to-week basis, but I have seen a lot less Slowking. I just haven't seen it, guys. Like, I'm not running into standard Slowking. I almost never run into it anymore, it feels like. Now, what's going to happen is, of course, it's going to go on the rise this week, and it's going to be, like, all over the place, but I have not been seeing Slowking, and I just thought that was interesting. But let's move on to the heat or trash segment. I know this is a very popular segment, and a lot of you guys are really interested in this. I've got fewer mons this week. I just haven't seen as much, but don't worry, they're pretty interesting, especially the Victini. Hang around for the Victini, guys, because that Victini set is crazy. But we're going to start off with this Registeel, which is also really interesting. So this Registeel is an Iron Defense, Amnesia, Rest, Body Press set. So basically, it's a setup and wall, and then defeat things with 4x defense. Obviously, Registeel has a very high defensive stat at 150 base stat. So it can hit really hard with that body press, especially when it's set up. Rest allows you to deal with things like paralysis that they might be using to try to kind of hex you out. And then, of course, Leftovers being a fairly obvious one. The best I could figure, this is what the EVs were. I wasn't really certain, but this makes the most sense to me. You're going to want as much defense as you can get, since some things resist your fighting type move, and you're just going to want to hit as hard as you can in spite of that. So I'm thinking like Mew, which frequently has a lot of HP investment. So that is the Registeel set. Really interesting. Let's talk about a Silvally-Poison I saw someone running. This thing is really, really interesting, and it actually seemed to perform okay. So this thing was running Flamethrower, Toxic, Parting Shot, and I presume multi-attack. I didn't see the last move. It would be weird to me to run Silvally without that because it is such a powerful hitting stab attack, so I just don't know why you wouldn't have that, but I never saw it, so it could be something different. I assume that this is a bulky set, probably on the special defense side, but I'm really not sure. That was just kind of based on how they were playing it. So this set could come in and use Slow Parting Shot to reposition and weaken whatever came in to defeat it. Because this thing could come in on like Ferrothorn, for example, and Flamethrower really hard. It could also hit that Parting Shot on something like a Dragapult swap in. So it was just a really interesting set. So that's what it was, guys. You may notice there's no item. That's because in order to be the poison type, you have to have it's like RKS poison memory or poison memory, whatever it is. Doesn't really hold an item. Really interesting. I think it's a little weak to hazards, but I thought it was super cool and worth mentioning. Now this last set, guys. Weakness Policy Victini. Running V-Create, Bolt Strike, Glaciate, and Trick Room? I didn't even know Victini got Trick Room, guys. This set is probably almost certainly a super bulky, physically offensive set. I mean, obviously you're running physically offensive moves. But guys, this set was really, really interesting because what you could do is V-Create to slow down, but then Trick Room, making it so you're actually faster. And what's even crazier is with the weakness policy, if you get that off, for example, if Landorus comes in and tries to knock off, you will do so much damage for the remainder of those Trick Room. You will absolutely wipe out teams. So this set was super, super cool, guys. I definitely think this is actually pretty heat. You just got to be really intelligent about how you run it because you got to time when you're going to click Trick Room. So that is all the sets I have for you guys this week. Post-production Ninjack here. I forgot to tell you guys that the next video that is going to come up is a video where I take a Komodo and Gyarados and just decimate OU guys. Like, they actually kill it. And they're actually the sets from the previous week's Monday Meta Review Heat or Trash segment. You should definitely go check that out if you haven't already. It's super hype. They did insane. They absolutely annihilated out there. And it was just super hype. Also, wanted to let you guys know, I've got some really cool content scheduled, guys. There's some awesome stuff coming out this Friday. And for those of you who don't know, I do upload on Mondays and Fridays at 5 p.m. now. And so you should definitely be looking on Friday for that content because it's actually going to be super, super cool. So yeah, like I said, my name's Jack, stage name Ninjack, and I'll see y'all out there.